What if I told you this is the most beautiful place not on your bucket list? A place full of history, stunning landscapes, and the bluest water. From the sun-kissed beaches of the Algarve to the sky-high peaks of Madeira. From the largest surfing wave in the world to the ancient streets of Lisbon and Porto. It's called Portugal. And if you're ready to wander, ponder, savor, and discover all that this amazing country has to offer, then we have everything you'll want to see, do, and experience in Portugal.
I don't know that guy.
Most people will start their trip by flying into the bigger cities of Lisbon or Porto. However, our first tip to planning your trip is not to start in either of those places, but extend your flying day just a little further and go to the Hawaii of Europe, Madeira.
Yeah, take me to a place, got me on the way.
On a map, Madeira sits closer to Africa than it does Europe, but it's only a quick hour-and-a-half plane flight over to this Portuguese paradise. Madeira is known for its rich culture, remarkable coastline, and some of the most epic hiking trails in the world. I'm talking like Jurassic Park vibes. Oh, and it's also the hometown of some famous soccer player. Once we arrived, we hopped in our rental car and headed toward our Airbnb in Funchal. To answer your question up front, yes, you do need a rental car if you want to see any part of the island. We recommend staying in Funchal for a couple of reasons. It has the most housing options, has the most food options, and it's really close to the airport. A quick note about the weather, we traveled to Portugal at the end of September and it was still toasty. So for all the American viewers who are used to having AC everywhere, a lot of places in Portugal, just like the rest of Europe, don't have AC in the accommodations, so plan accordingly. Madeira has so much to explore, so we'll give you some of our top recommendations. But be warned, I probably won't pronounce any of these correctly. First, we stopped by the beach this beach. Side note, be sure you're in shape if you want to go to any of the beaches on the island, because you usually have to hike down to get to them and then hike back out when you're done. We then traveled to the eastern tip of the island to Ponta de São Lourenço. Rugged cliffs plunging straight into deep blue water and the sounds of the wind and the waves crashing against the shoreline. There is a 4-mile out and back hike you can do to the very tip of the island, but just know that there's no tree cover, so you're in direct sunlight for all 4 miles. On the way back to Funchal, we stopped in Machico to explore a bit and get a fresh pineapple juice. Speaking of drinks, Madeira is known for its famous poncha.
Poncha right here.
Just know that it packs a punch. All right, some other food recommendations. Be sure to try espetada. It's this huge skewer with your choice of meat, and of all the food we had in Portugal, this may be one of the better dishes we tried.
Now that's a piece of meat right there.
If you're looking for a hearty breakfast, hit up the Brunch Club. They have some pancakes to die for.
Presentation is an A+.
And after being out in the hot sun all day, you'll want to cool down with some gelato.
I don't know that guy.
The second night, we went to bed early because the next day, we'd be waking up for sunrise. The Pico de Pico, a trail that runs between the 2 tallest peaks on Madeira. We started at the second tallest peak to catch sunrise, us and 100 of our closest friends. Despite the crowds, this was one of the top sunrises in all my trips around the world.
This sunrise is brought to you by
You tell them.
I'll have gum in my mouth.
Times and places are all in who you share them with.
It worked out nicely that Amanda and I were the only ones game for the hike, because without a car to pick you up at the other end, you'll be putting in over 12 miles. So Amanda and I started the hike shortly after sunrise, and 5 hours later got picked up near the highest peak. I would consider this hike moderately challenging. There's lots of elevation change and some fairly steep sections, but the huge difference between the Pico de Pico and a lot of other hikes is you have stunning views the entire way. Amanda and I both said there's always something to look at. You never get bored on this hike.
The time is who you spend it with. Joy is who you share it with. Who you share it with.
Let's go.
You'll climb along the spines of mountaintops, trek through dark tunnels.
Yeah, you can't see us right now, but we are in a tunnel going under a mountain.
Climb steep staircases, and stumble upon some great lookouts.
We made it.
Once we reached the tallest point on the island, the clouds cleared and we could see for miles.
Joy is who you share it with. Who you share it with. Who you share it with.
Maybe the one downside to this trail is that it's so popular internationally now that we found it pretty crowded at times. So we recommend starting as early as you can to avoid the crowds. When we finished the hike, the rest of my family was waiting for us at the other end. You would have thought they were the ones that did the hike. If you drive further north, you can stop by some coastal surfing towns, grab lunch with a seaside view, and make your way to the famous natural pools.
Mount Everest. That's Mount Everest right there.
Point to it. Oh,
Right
that's
there.
Mount Everest?
Yep, right here.
Aside from the Pico de Pico, this may be the next coolest thing to do on the island. A lot of recommendations online say to go to Porto Moniz, but we recommend going to the free version. This one. Not sure what to do about that last word. This place is essentially a natural infinity pool that borders the ocean, and it has this cool volcanic rock arch that you can swim under. It's an unreal feeling being feet away from the roaring ocean waves, just swimming around. This was our last adventure in Madeira before heading back to the mainland the next day. I thought 2.5 days in Madeira was enough time to see most of the island. However, if we were to do the trip again, I probably would extend one more day to do a few more hikes and to see a few more sights. The next morning, we hopped on a plane back to the mainland. And at this point, you have to make a couple itinerary decisions. When you fly back into Lisbon, you may choose to spend a couple of days exploring the city. Or you could drive south and go explore the Algarve. Or you could head north to Porto. Our decision was already made for us. We were in a hurry to catch a wedding in Porto. So we just stopped at a gas station restaurant.
That may have been our best one, buddy. That pretty much hit the spot right there.
I'll let you decide for yourself, but this may be one of the prettiest cities in Europe. No wonder J.K. Rowling's magical world of Harry Potter was inspired by this place. Okay, back to the wedding. Grant and I were almost late because we decided to get a Portuguese haircut. You know, when in Rome. The wedding ended up being at this palace on the Douro River. It was absolutely gorgeous, and we had such an amazing time. I know it's a little overdue, but congratulations, Will and Mariana. Good. Porto is a very walkable city, as long as you're in good enough shape to go up and down lots of hills and stairs. For this reason, we recommend staying anywhere near the Douro River. We opted for an Airbnb in the Cleargios neighborhood, which had lots of main attractions within a 15-minute walk. There is lots to do, see, and eat in Porto. We'll go through some of our top recommendations. First, you're gonna wanna explore all the small streets and back alleys, going through different shops, churches, restaurants. We had so much fun just exploring this area around our Airbnb. On your walking tour, be sure to stroll along the Douro River at the Ribeira de Porto. You get a great view of the city, and you can watch all the boats passing by on the river. Next, go to the heart of Porto's shopping and street life. Santa Catarina Street, one of the most famous streets in Porto. On the street, stop by the Chapel of Souls. It's a masterpiece of the iconic blue and white tiles. For more blue tiles, head to São Bento train station. The station is coated in over 20,000 of the blue and white hand-painted tiles. Feeling hungry? Try out the local legend.
Francesinha.
Francesinha. It's like a sandwich meets a grilled cheese and then had a run-in with a sloppy joe. It's a lot of food, very filling, and very interesting. And if you're up for it, you can wash it down with some famous port wine. You'll also want to head to Casa Guedes to try their famous Sandes de Pernil. It's a pork shoulder sandwich, and it's really good. If you're looking for some good brunch spots, check out Zenith and Nicolau. These aren't necessarily Portuguese breakfast spots, but they are delicious. Okay, and for all you Harry Potter nerds, make sure you check out the famous Leilu bookstore. The bookstore rumored to have inspired J.K. Rowling herself. But just know that you have to get tickets in advance to go in the store, because that line is long. Being that I'm not the biggest Harry Potter fan, we skipped out on this one. But check out these cool pictures other people took. We recommend spending one of your evenings across the river at the Jardim del Moro. It's this park on top of a hill that overlooks the city and river. You can opt to take a cable car to the top or just walk to the summit like we did. While we were there was a ton of people gathered listening to music and taking in a beautiful sunset. Back across the river, be sure to check out the Porto Cathedral. The cathedral itself is absolutely stunning, but we found all the nightlife around it to be way more fascinating. Two and a half days gave us enough time to see a lot of what Porto had to offer. The only thing I would have added to our itinerary is a Douro River cruise. We wrapped up our time in Porto by doing a ceremonial dance at City Hall.
One more time.
Followed by the fanciest McDonald's in the world.
What you got there?
I've got some McDonald's.
On your way back to Lisbon, there's a little town called Nazare. This unassuming town is home to the largest surf wave in the world. The waves are so big that they have a rescue team that circles the water so that the surfers who have to bail don't drown in the massive swell. We didn't go in peak season for the waves, so we just dropped by for a couple hours to watch some of the surfers. We kept driving south into the Sintra mountain range, home to a fairy tale castle. The picturesque Peña Palace is a vibrant red and yellow castle built in the 19th century. There's a small entry fee to enter the grounds, and it is a lot of uphill hiking, but the views of the castle are 100% worth it. This was a stop we nearly skipped on our itinerary in order to get down to the Algarve. But Amanda and I both agreed this may be one of the most underrated sites in all of Portugal.
All right, what do you have here?
We have got picked out of the wild chestnuts. A family who works here gave me these, and that was very nice. And you can crack them open and eat them, and they taste a little bit like a pecan.
I'm gonna break my teeth.
After sitting in a car for hours, we were getting a little stir-crazy and hungry. That combo led us to this small Mexican joint in Lagos. We had finally made it to the Algarve. This coast is probably the reason people consider going to Portugal in the first place. There are a ton of coastal towns to choose from when you're trying to pick a place to stay in the Algarve. We opted to stay in Lagos because it was central to a lot of the things we wanted to do, and it was affordable. Here's all that you need to know about what to do on the southern coast. Beaches, beaches, more beaches, and a little bit of food. Here's some of our recommendations, and once again, I'll spare you my pronunciation. This is rated as one of the prettiest beaches in all of Portugal. It has golden sand with these dramatic cliffs, but know that it is super crowded. Also, a lot of the pictures online lead you to believe that the water is very clear and calm, but in reality, the water is fairly rough, it's cold, and while we were there, it was covered in seaweed. Really pretty, but maybe not the best place to get in the water.
1, 2,
3. Another pretty beach that has some cool sea caves you can go in, and one of the caves even leads you to a view of an old bridge carved between two cliffs. The Michelin Guide ranks it as one of the top 10 beaches in all of Europe, and you can quickly see why. The waves hitting up against the shore creates these unique rock formations, including this one that looks a little like the McDonald's arch. If we had more time in the Algarve, we thought it would have been fun to do a boat tour of the coastline to get a different perspective of the cliff beaches. But I'll say that there's so many beaches to explore that you'll certainly run out of time before you do beaches. Outside of visiting the different beaches, we recommend going into the town of Lagos to explore. Just be warned, the streets are super narrow. So, if you have a rental car, just go find a parking deck and walk through the narrow streets. My one recommendation for food is brunch at Black and White Coffee. This was easily the best food we had in Lagos. The last night in the Algarve, we caught a gorgeous sunset at the beach. Our final destination for our Portugal trip was Lisbon. The reason we planned our trip to end in Lisbon is so that we could buy a cheaper round-trip flight out of a major airport. And I will say up front that we heard from a few friends not to spend a lot of time in Lisbon. They said it's just another big city in Europe and there's not all that much to do. So we only spent one day exploring the city. First, you'll want to check out Baleum Tower. It served as a ceremonial gateway to explorers in the 16th century and is now a UNESCO World Heritage Site. After, walk over to another UNESCO World Heritage Site, Geronimo's Monastery. Both of these structures are beautiful pieces of architecture, but if you want to see the inside, you'll need to book tickets in advance. Next, check out the famous bakery called Pastéis de Belém. They're famous for a custard tart that a lot of people really like.
Love it. That's not bad.
In the evening, we went into downtown to explore. Downtown Lisbon was super lively. Lots of performers, musicians, and some cool shops and restaurants. Overall, I was glad we didn't spend too much time in Lisbon. As you saw from the rest of the trip, there's so much natural beauty to explore in Portugal that we didn't want to waste much time in a city. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video and it gave you just a little taste of all that Portugal has to offer. And as always, if we left anything out or if you have any questions, please let us know in the comments below and we'll see you in the next one.